Prince Silly with another Transgirl CNC where we talk about comics, cartoons, and other awesome nerd shit. Well, last week I said that we'd be talking about an anime, and that was the plan, but I dropped the ball just a little bit. I got sidetracked by my life, and, well, I didn't finish the show that I wanted to talk about. So that will be that's getting pushed back until next week, and we will come back to it. And it's still a surprise, so I'm just really hoping you're going to like it as much as I do. But that's not important. What is important is I'm sorry that the video is also a day late. When I didn't have the right topic to talk about, I had to pick a new one. And it's not that I don't have a lot of things to talk about. It's I have too many things to talk about, and I had to narrow it down to the one thing that I wanted to talk about with y'all. So let's get right into that. But before we do, we're going to turn now to our segment called Things You Might Have Missed, the portion of our show where I talk about a comic, a cartoon, a thing that you might have missed because there are just so many things in our nerd lives and we can't keep up with all of it. This one's going to be a little nostalgic for some of you. It's going to be a little out of nowhere for the rest of you. Right here is Boom Studios' Go-Go Power Rangers. It follows the story of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, in Rita, etc., whatever, but it gives it more of a story, gives it more, substance, because the original show, Super Sentai, came from Japan, and a lot of it had to be cut out for being too Japanese, so when you watch the American version, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So this comic is a retelling of the story, but it gives it a little more story than what we got as kids. So I would definitely check it out. It has 2 issues out right now. I think you'll really like it. And with that being said, let's move on to this week's topic. This week's topic is also from Boom Studios. It's called Mech Cadet Yu. It's by Greg Peck, Takashi Miyazawa. And it's great. It's really good. If you look back in my June comic book suggestion video where I was telling you what was coming out in August, this was actually on the list. It's kind of like... One, it's giant robots. I dig giant robots. You dig giant robots. We dig giant robots. It's kind of an Iron Giant story. A little bit. And that's really what drew me to it initially. When I read it like that, when I read the bio for it, I was like, oh, I really like the Iron Giant. I'm possibly going to like this. And I do. The art is really charming. The characters are still getting fleshed out. So I guess that would be my only kind of weak point, is that I don't understand some of the motivations behind some of the characters. But there's only 2 issues out right now, and I imagine that those will be, fleshed out more as the story continues. Basically, the story takes place on a world where a alien mech came down to Earth and bonded with a boy named Skip Tanaka. And he pushed back an alien invasion and then went out into space to keep that alien front from coming back to the Earth. And ever since then, every 4 years, new mechs show up, 3 mechs show up, to bond with other children. Nobody knows why they bond with children. Nobody knows why they pick the children that they do. But they do their best to, ensure that only the best and the brightest are being picked. And they do this by having a cadet program. Which picks 3 hardworking, the best and the brightest of their unit, of their class, and pairs them with the mech. Well, the mechs, choose the children at like a special mountaintop. I don't know why it's at a mountaintop. I doubt they know why it's at a mountaintop, and that's not important. What's important is this story doesn't follow any of those best and brightest children. It follows you. You is the son of the military base janitor. Well, one of them. I imagine there's more than just one janitor. That would be really sad for that poor woman. Anyway, she's a janitor, ergo, he's a janitor. Because for some reason, it works on a kind of really weird caste system in that the position that you're born into is the position that you will always have. Or maybe that's not how it works. Maybe his family just isn't affluent enough or doesn't have enough money. And so it doesn't really explain why he can't get from that situation into being a cadet, because that's what he wants. He wants to be the best, the brightest. He wants to be picked by a mech. He wants to be special. And basically he's told by his mom, you don't want that. These children are going to have their lives put in danger if those aliens ever come back. They'll be, like, among the first in line to protect us, and I don't want that for you. And really, you don't want that for you. It's safe to be on the ground, and that's okay. It's okay to be safe. But that's not what he wants. And after a really terrible viewing of the cadet choosing process, one of the cadets that actually got chosen, was super bitchy towards him, and it was just a really bad day. And so he takes a walk. We're going to call it a walk because he actually, drives off on his scooter, and during his walkabout, he comes across a piece of scrap. It's a huge blue piece of scrap, and then he looks over to his left, and there's a giant mech just laying there. And he's like, whoa! Shouldn't this be at the ceremony? It probably can't because, it's missing this piece, and he returns the other piece to the mech gets up, he's like, alright, go to the ceremony, you got somebody waiting for you. But the mech doesn't leave. The mech instead holds out its hand and chooses you. Now, it's kind of explained later that the mechs choose children based on the things that they see in these children. Something special, maybe they're the bravest, they're the brightest, or there's just something in them that the mech themselves like. And this mech, this blue mech, we'll call him Bluey, it's not his name, he doesn't really have a name. The kids name him Mechs because the mechs can't speak. But Bluey chooses you. And you is beside himself. He thinks this is awesome, this is cool. And he climbs in the mech's hand, and they go off for a ride. They're flying along, and the military stops them. And the military's like, whoa, that's our property. I mean, that kind of sucks, but, because the mech is a living being. But they're like, this is our property. What are you doing with it? You're just a poor janitor's kid. Basically, yeah, that's the reason they're like, that you shouldn't have this mech is because he's not worthy of it. Even though the mech chose him. So they're being really rough with you. They're using their giant robots to block off the blue robot while they're trying to detain you, because they're going to bring the blue robot to the one child at the ceremony who didn't get a robot. And before they can, an order comes from on the radio that, hey, stop that, this isn't how we do things. They're like, who are you to speak to us like that? And he's like, well, I'm Skip Tanaka, I'm the first, I'm the original, and I say back off. Back off, motherfuckers, because this mech chose this boy. And that's how it goes. Like, it's kind of cool. I don't even know who Skip Tanaka is, but other than this comic. Like, he just got introduced in this comic, and he seems like a pretty cool dude. And so when he appeared, like, yeah, I'm the man, I was like, yeah, that's the man. You're going to listen to him. And they do. And that's kind of where I want to leave you, because I don't want to spoil everything. In fact, I gave you some pretty broad strokes. There are 2 issues, and I only covered stuff that was in the first issue. So, what do you think is going to happen? Oh, I know what happens, but I want you to find out what happens. So, pick it up, Mech Cadet Yu, go to your local comic book shop, go on Comixology, however you read your comics, use it, and check this out. As I mentioned, next week, we're going to be talking about an anime, one that I really, really like. And I think you're going to like it too. So until next time, enjoy comics, enjoy cartoons, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.